Hello everyone, it's Pablo Kuntz here, founder of Unique Japan, and I'm coming to you live from my house about 1 hour east of London. And I'm holding here is my first sword, my first Japanese sword that I purchased a few years ago in Tokyo. And I had a huge fright. I had a huge fright because I almost didn't receive this sword. And I can't tell you how happy I am to have this piece now safely in my hands. You see, we moved a few months ago, and the moving company said that I shouldn't put my Japanese sword inside the container because it might get held up in customs, and then it would kind of slow all our furniture and clothing down. So once we settled into our house here in England, I was to send the sword afterwards. So it came, but not without a couple hiccups. Basically, what happened is that the sword was held in customs in Coventry. And I guess it's not every day that they receive a 400-year-old sword. So they, just barraged me with a bunch of questions about, is it old? Is it for theatrical purposes? Is it, and I was saying, it's old. It's very old, And he goes, well, we need proof. And, they weren't exactly friendly, to be quite honest, on the phone, but maybe that's just the way they are. And we just had these riots. I mean, the timing couldn't have been worse. The riots happened only like maybe a week beforehand, and then my sword comes in, and it just kind of like, oh my, like the worst timing. But I was able to show them the certificate from the NBTKH, or the Society for the Preservation of Art Swords, Nihon Bijutsu Token Hozon Kyokai, and I've shown this paper before in a previous video, but and on our website uniquejapan.com you can read about certifications on Japanese swords, and this is basically it's called a hozon, or a preservation. It's a sword that's worthy of preserving, according to the NBTKH. And basically they take a photograph. I'll try and get a little bit closer here. They take a photograph, or in the past they took oshigata, or stencils, of the tang. And notice how the tang is oxidized. With all Japanese swords, they allow the tang to oxidize so that it shows their age. And the older the tang is, the darker the tang is. So this is 400 years old. It's quite dark, and I'll show it to you later on this video. And basically, this shows that this sword, in their opinion, was made by the person that is engraved on the sword, which is Hitachi Daijo Fujiwara Narisada. Narisada is the swordsmith. Fujiwara is the clan. And Hitachi Daijo was his title. Now, without further ado, I'd like to show you this piece. It's very, very close to me. Anybody who becomes an owner of a Japanese sword just knows how special the swords become. That just like all other swords, for the dozens of customers that I've helped make this dream a reality, the sword really does choose you. And this sword, the moment I laid eyes on it, it was fait accompli. It was game over. I just had to own it, and maybe I'll show you why. So the sword itself is about 58 centimeters long. That is technically a wakizashi. Remember that wakizashis are between 30.3 centimeters and 60.6 centimeters, or between one shaku, which is 30.3 centimeters, and two shaku, or nishaku, which is 60.6. So at 58 centimeters, it's only 2 centimeters shy of a katana. So they call it an o wakizashi, or a long wakizashi. And it's not normal that you'll see wakizashis at this length. Most of them are around 40 centimeters, 42, 43, 45, sometimes 38, and certainly lower in the 30s. But 58 centimeters is quite long. And for this reason, I believe that it was custom made for likely a wealthy merchant or a samurai. It's not completely clear. It was made around 1630, just at the start of the Edo period. So maybe before I take out the sword, I'll show you some parts that really are beautiful. This is the menuki, right? So the menuki is the piece that goes underneath the ito, or the silk cord, on the tsuka. This whole part is called tsuka, the handle. And it rests just above the same, which is the skin of a ray fish. Many people think it's shark, but it's actually not. It's ray. And this menuki, it's hard to tell, but it's of a shisa lion. And anyone who has lived in Okinawa knows the shisa lion. They're the ones that kind of a cross between a lion and a dragon, I believe, that guard homes. And they basically ward off evil spirits, and this sword certainly does that. Okay, this is the mekugi rather, that holds everything in place, to everyone's astonishment. And this is the kashida at the bottom here. That's the kashida. And this is the fuchi kashida. And you'll notice that the amount of ornate detail work on this kashida is fantastic. It's a little bit hard to tell on this video, but it's, the floral patterns to be done in the Edo period, as this piece was done around 200 years ago, is just really extraordinary. And this is a little bit more difficult to tell, but this is actually a dragon on the tsuba. Maybe I'll take it off and I'll show it to you later. And this, of course, is the sageo, or the hanging cord on the sword. Okay. And without further ado, here is the sword. Now, the sword itself, like I say, it's 58 centimeters long. It doesn't have a tremendous amount of curvature. I think it's around 0.8 centimeters. And from this angle, it's hard to tell, but you'll see that the hamon, or the temper line, notice how it's straight all the way through. I'm pulling down the sword here. And then towards the strike point, you see how it begins to meander there, and it begins to wave. This is very unusual, a unique hamon, and that's called midare, the midare ba. So kind of an irregular, wavy hamon towards the top. So you have this kind of straight, and the strike point for a sword is around this point here. And it just, when I saw it, it was absolutely love at first sight, and it's a pleasure to show it to you today. Before I open it up, and this beautiful habaki. It's a lovely wave pattern here. Of course, this is a gold set on likely copper. Okay, so I'm going to open up the sword to give you a view of the actual tang itself. Okay, and with this little contraption, everyone at the airport security always asks me, "What is this thing?" But it's not. It doesn't have anything sharp, so it never gets confiscated. This little piece allows you to take out the mekugi and place it on a table. And notice I'll hold the sword with my left hand. Now, because this is taken on my back, maybe left hand looks like right hand and right hand looks like left hand, but here you place it with your left hand, and then you just give your hand a little bit of a jolt. Sometimes they're a little bit more difficult to take out. This one popped off quite nicely indeed. Okay. It's very important when you're taking apart your sword that you're relaxed, that you're not drunk. That's for sure. Like some people tell me that when they have a couple of drinks, they like to take out their sword. It's really highly unadvisable to do that. I find it when my kids are asleep. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. When they're asleep, I find that it's just quite meditative to take out the sword and just relax and clean it and have a look at it. So, okay. So first I'm going to show you the tang here. So I know it's a little bit difficult to see. And if we don't quite get there, we don't quite get there. But here are some engravings. And this engraving here says Hitachi Daijo, which is the title that this swordsmith had received, which is a nice title, very highly regarded. And Fujiwara is a common clan. You'll see this once in a while on Japanese swords that are signed Fujiwara. And at the bottom, this says Narisada. And Narisada was indeed the swordsmith that made this piece. Now, on the other side says Echizen Chu. So it was made in Echizen. Now, why that is significant for me is because if you've been to uniquejapan.com, you'll see that there's a whole range of kitchen knives that we sell. Now, why do we sell Japanese swords and kitchen knives? I think we're the only people that do that. That's because in the late 19th century, so around 1868, of course, is when the Meiji period started. And at that point, samurai swords were unable to be held in public by the samurai. And so a lot of swordsmiths, they needed to find work because sword production was at basically an all-time low. And a lot of these swordsmiths began to channel their energy and their skill towards making tools for farmers. But a lot of them channel this energy towards hocho, or making kitchen knives. Now, the kitchen knives that we sell online are made in Echizen. So this sword has provided all that expertise, all that know-how, all that history towards these kitchen knives. And the kitchen knives that we sell today are still made with by hand in handcrafted techniques learned over several centuries. So this kind of echo effect and this continuation of these of the sword making techniques is something that thrills me. And when you work with these kitchen knives, I mean, honestly, nothing on the market, nothing have I ever tested comes close to the sharpness of these knives. I mean, they're really impeccably sharp. Yeah, they're not something that you have to throw around and you don't throw it around and throw it in the dishwasher. Clearly, these are pieces that need a little bit extra care, but all the customers that have tried the kitchen knives are raving fans because they just stay sharp, really sharp. So Echizen is, like I said, is where the sword was made. Not all swords are signed, and not all swords will show the date, and some will, and some will show where it was made as well. And I think it's very important when you do purchase a sword that we look for these kind of echo effects. I have some customers in the U.S. Armed Forces that, for example, may be part of the Navy, and a lot of my customers wish to have something on a more of a nautical theme. So, for example, we have waves on the for example, this would be a perfect habaki. This is a habaki made of waves. So you'll see that we'll find a kashida with a wave pattern on it, or a tsuba, for example, that has waves, something that means something to them. And that really is what separates, I think, Unique Japan from many other companies, is that we look for this echo effect, something that it means and it connects you to the sword. Because after all, the sword does choose you. Just before I let you go, I'll have you take a look at this tsuba, because this tsuba really does rock. Look at that dragon. You'll see a dragon here. There's the dragon, and that head, and then you'll see that wonderful claw, the claw right here. And remember, Japanese dragons have 3 claws, and Chinese dragons have 4. So that's one little tidbit of information for you. All right. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'm so pleased to have my sword back in possession, and I look forward to meeting you. If you have any questions on swords, feel free to contact us at Unique Japan. And I look forward, of course, seeing you at any sword show. If you have the opportunity in Japan, if you're traveling to Japan, or of course if you're living in Japan, we have regular sword shows in Kamakura and in Okinawa. And we do visit a lot of the U.S. Armed Forces bases, such as Yokota Air Base, Atsugi, and soon we're going to be in Misawa. So we look forward to seeing you there, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye.